What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back today with more Danmachi. Now, today we're going to be talking about the latest heroic trial, and as you can see here, we're kind of like, I say still in the process of team building a little bit on this. Now, one thing is for certain. If you have the Max Limit Broken Water team, the one that I've told you guys basically since the anniversary that you absolutely need to have, then you're going to crush this. You're going to kill this, you're going to walk in, you're going to laugh at it, and you're going to walk away. But we're getting to a state of the game where that is I say older team. It's a few months old at this point, and there are new players in the game that probably don't have that build. So what I want to do is I want to focus on a build that's a little more attainable with a couple of caveats. Now, I'll get to those here in a moment, but first, let's go ahead and introduce the team. Up first is Harahime, who is Max Limit Broken. And I know you guys don't want to see a team full of Max Limit Broken units, but the honest answer is she really has no parallel anywhere else in the game. It's this or it's the Fire OG Aharu. Both of them do roughly similar stuff. The only difference being that this one has a 33% SAH charge, and the other one, honestly, has a big debuff, but both do buff replication, and both do counter healing, which are your main functions on this team. Now, if you don't have the Wind Harahime, that's fine. You can use the Fire OG. She's free to play. She's attainable once she hit level 40 on the Bell Quest. And then, obviously, if you have any Prism Bonds or if you have any dupes of her whatsoever, totally worth it. Throw those guys in. She is stellar. Like, easily the second best unit in the whole game, still to this date. But either one of them will be viable in this front slot. The main thing is you do need healing for this team. Healing is a major factor. Now, I do have attached to her the Harahime, the Eyes assist that does 111% SAH charge. SAH charge can be a huge factor on this team. It is going to be a major portion of what makes this team work. So you need SAH charge wherever possible. That brings us to slot 2, and that is going to be Wealth. Now, Wealth is only here for the single target debuff. And I even do that reluctantly because this bell removes debuffs, and I don't recollect how long that single target debuff lasts. It might only last a turn or two. So Wealth's kind of in a moot point at this point. He's kind of a sore spot on the team that I don't really have a better replacement for. I could do a defensive buff, but I don't need it because of Harahime. So Wealth's a weird situation here. He's very malleable. You could put just about anybody you want here. If you have the OG Fire Haru, then you want to run somebody here in Wealth's spot that does the 33% SAH charge. But it was kind of pointless for me to do that when I've got Harahime on the team and everything that, like Line or someone like that does. Harahime already does. It would be a redundant spot. So we're going to use this for Wealth for now, but that's like the big iffy spot here. The one spot that isn't iffy with this is that Finn in slot 2. This is going to give everybody 33% SAH charge, and it's basically going to be one of the biggest factors in the long run of this game. Or I say the long run of this match, I should say. Now, slot 3. This Ryu, Dark Ryu, is here for one purpose and one purpose only. That is her SA. She does 100% dark damage to all allies. Now, don't get it twisted. She does do a 60% buff as well per each self-strength buff, but because that's AoE, and because our opponent is going to resist all AoE attacks, this really kind of gets nullified. This is really just here to buff everybody else. In fact, because of who we're going to bring in, I'm going to put her in front of Wealth the more I think about it. So Wealth is going to move to slot 3, and she's going to be in slot 2. Now, on her, I do have the single target Lily. She's going to be really important to this because all single target damage is going to be buffed up distinctly with her on the team. And we will need that. We will absolutely need that. Okay? Now, slot 4, because we moved Ryu to slot 3 and Wealth to slot, or Ryu from slot 3 to slot 2, and Wealth to slot 2 to slot 3. We're going to be using Dark Filvis. Now, I just recently maxed them to broke my Dark Filvis, and we've been way to do some testing with her. And we'll definitely do some testing with her soon, but not in this capacity. In fact, you'll notice she has no hero ascension. So her stats are a little lackluster. If you want to compare this unit to a unit that has the typical 3-star, this would be about on the level of someone that is +3 and 3-star hero ascension, give or take. You'll notice that her stats right down here are about on par with everybody else we have on the team. So, yeah, like especially Elfie, so who is +3. So I didn't put any hero ascension in her yet. I do plan to max her out very soon, just so we can do a test. But if I'm honest here, for the purposes of this one, think of her as an average +3, not a +5, just because she's lacking that hero ascension. This is the one unit that I held back to try to equate this to somebody else. So don't think of her as a maximum broken unit. Think of her as someone on Elfie's level. Okay? Tied to her, I am using this Hermes, and that's because this Hermes does magic resistance down 25%. This is a solely magic team that will just basically allow us to do a lot more damage. Slot 4, Osfi. Osfi is our second sack. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring Osfi in on turn 2, and then she's simply going to do this skill right here. Agility and Dex down 30%. That really doesn't matter. All she's going to do is she's going to increase counter rate and dark attack damage by 50%. Now, that counter rate buff is going to kind of get nullified, but that dark attack damage buff is something that some of our units actually might need. We have some units on here that might not buff their own dark attack damage. In hindsight, I actually think most of them do, but once again, I haven't found a better slot for this unit, and I had another unit that was replacing Philbus that needed this, so it's kind of just a holdover, but let's just see what she does. There probably are better units to stick in slots 3 and 4 here. I'm sorry, 3 and 5 technically. And I'll leave that entirely up to you. You will want to base that off the team that you're running. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and run these two as it is. Now, I'm going to use the Hermes unit here that actually does the Dark Resist down 15%. If he's maximum broken, he would do 20%, but I didn't put stock in him when he was around because I just haven't seen the Dark team get enough buffs to really justify it. And that's going to kind of be similar to, unfortunately, this Sia right here. Great unit. She does magic plus 10%, wind and dark resistance plus, dark attack damage plus 15%. But if I'm honest, she would be 20 if she were maxed. I just, once again, didn't put a lot of stake in the Dark team because I didn't see the Dark team getting the buffs that we've gotten recently. Dark team's not gotten a lot of love over the past couple of years, and I guess that would have been a big clue that it's gonna have that it was gonna get it. But if I'm totally honest here, the Dark team is still a bit lacking in comparison to other teams. So one of the caveats I talked about in my video the other day is that sometimes when you're building teams, you have to look at another team and go, man, this team has not gotten a lot of love recently. They're not going to be the meta for a really long amount of time, if ever again. And so I just chose not to summon on those banners very far. I got one unit, and I didn't chase them to max them a break. And that's for this very reason right here. But that's my final unit here, Elfie. Elfie's a very good unit. And the main thing she's here for is her SA, though she's a great single target attack unit. Magic and dark attack damage down 60%. That is going to be a big factor. Normally, you would want that, as you can kind of see, what's going to happen is Welf is going to swap out for Osfi, who's going to swap out for Elfie in turn 3, or at the beginning of, end of turn 2, beginning of turn 3. She's going to come in turn 3, fresh-faced and ready to go. Now, normally, you would want those debuffs before the unit that buffs that gets all of those basically status buffs. If you remember back to what Ryu does here, 60% per each self-strength buff scale. Now, normally you'd want the debuff before that because that hit is going to hit hard. The main reason that I've not done that, the biggest reason I've not done that, is because that's an AoE skill, and since this unit resists AoE, it's not preferable. It really is not preferable to do it that way. The way I've done it here looks a bit wonky for how we normally do things on in the game, but believe me, it actually is better because that Ryu is really there for the buff. She's not going to hit very hard at all. So it's a strange way to do it. It's going to look weird to a lot of people who are used to seeing it the other way, but it is the proper way to do it on this team. Okay, so we're going to come out of the gate with Dawnwind with Harahime, and everybody else is just going to do their standard buff stack. Now, I really like Ryu here. Ryu is going to pull us out of the water if we ever start taking a lot of damage. She does a 10% HP and MP heal with a heal plus 10% for 2 turns, so all heals, especially those Harahime counter heals, are going to be significantly more potent, but she also nullifies it 2 physical attacks and 2 magic attacks. That's going to be really important. Bell's attacks, basically, for all allies, are going to be nullified for the first 2 real attacks that he's going to do. So that, if we ever see somebody like really hurting for HP, we could pull them out of the water by basically replicating that once again. And as I said, Welp is going to do the single target debuff, though once again, I don't know how potent that's going to be. It will just kind of be what it is. And then Philvis is going to come in here. And let me see her build. Yeah. So she's going to do her skill 1, and that's just going to start her buff stack. I've never used Philvis before. She is, as you saw in my video last week, a brand new acquisition. We haven't even done any testing with her. This is my first time running her. So pardon me, I actually don't know her build worth a darn, unfortunately. Now, Harahime is going to go do Blowing Wind. One very big reason for that, while we don't necessarily need the debuff replication, it would be nice, but it's not end of the world stuff. Bell's going to kind of remove debuffs anyway. We will go back and do Night Storm, but we want to try to see how far we can get with some of these debuffs. And you'll already notice that, if I go in here, 1 unit resistance, 3 turns, strength, magic down 45%. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't think that's going to even last till next turn. I think he's just straight up going to remove it, but we'll kind of play it by ear and see. Okay? Then we're going to do skill 2 with Ryu. Osfi's going to come in and do skill 1, and then she's going to be gone. Then we're going to do skill 2 with Philvis. Now, the nice part is, Philvis, once again, can buff her single target damage, and I actually didn't remember that she did that, which is another thing that makes Welf pretty pointless on the team. But as I said before, I really didn't have much of a better place to put him, or didn't have much of anybody else better to put there, so it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, we are accruing some damage here, and I should probably have done skill 3 with Philvis there. I wasn't thinking about it because I really thought that Bell was going to remove his debuffs. So I'm going to go do skill 3, and we're going to kind of pay attention to the order in which Bell removes things, because that's going to be an interesting one here. So I'm going to do Night Storm. That's going to give us 10% MP heal, critical rate, penetration rate, and counter rate plus 30% for 2 turns. Remember, some of them actually have a higher number than that now, but that's going to be a big buff there. And from this point on, we're going to do big single target attacks with Ryu and with Philvis. Now, Philvis is really nice. Critical damage plus 50% per each self-magic buff skill. Remember, she's buffed on both the Adventure and the Sith side. That's going to be 100% attack damage. She's going to be taking our opponent apart. She's going to be the biggest factor here. And that's another reason why I held her back, because of max limit break and full max ascend, she's going to tear him down in no time. The downside, I say the upside of that is he's going to get torn down. The downside of that is I want to represent a unit that's probably like an average +2, +3, and that's more like where she stands right now without any hero ascension. So kind of think of her more in that realm, an average +2, +3. Don't look at her as like that's the damage that she's capable of. We've nerfed her quite a bit just to make her a little more representative to the teams that you could most likely build. So I want to emphasize that before we start criticizing the amount of time this is taking and the amount of damage she's producing. If she was maxed out, she'd be doing double what she's doing, or at least some other representation thereof. Now, Elfie's going to come in and she's going to start her buff stack. And we're just going to kind of go to town on our opponent until we have our quad SA. Quad SA is the goal here. And you'll kind of see why in a moment. But everyone is going to kind of keep doing their big attacks. She does do a low dark magic attack to a foe as an extra skill. And that actually does need to be rebuffed. So we'll do that this turn. Yeah. Ryu doesn't get one of those, so she's just basically going to spam skill 1 as much as she can. With Harahime, we will need to go back and we will need to do Dawn Wind, because once again, that is going to be expiring soon. So, Dawn Wind, Insanity Genesis, and then Elfie is going to kind of do her skill 2 just to continue her buff stack. And there we go. Pretty straightforward stuff. The main thing here was we're just doing as much early damage as we can, and we're building that SA gauge. That's going to be the biggest factor here. There we go. There we go. Now, we're already seeing damage. That's really nice. I'm going to go back to Blowing Wind. We don't really need to do Night Storm anyway, because all those buffs are now still in play. And Bell, let's see here. Actually, he's not removed his debuffs yet. Debuffs all look like they're still in play. 1 unit resistance, dark attribute damage, magic resistance, agility, dex. So all that's still in play. I don't know when he's going to remove that. He's going to remove it shortly, but I really don't know when. Okay? So now we're at the point where we're doing everybody's big single target attacks. It was basically skill 3 across the board, with the exception of Ryu, whose big attack is skill 1. And now we're going to do this for a couple of turns. Basically until either 1, Bell removes his debuffs, or 2, we get our triple SA. Now, there is going to be a situation here where we might want to redo some of these things. I'm not quite there yet. Let's see. 2 turns left in Insanity Genesis. I probably will rebuff Insanity Genesis. But we're already doing some good damage. So let's keep going down this road and see where we get. Honestly, don't know what the end result's going to be. So I am intrigued. I am as much along for the ride as you guys are. My goal here is a quad SA. And actually, he's already at half health. So Philvis is making all the difference in the world. I actually tried this with a different unit earlier. I tried this with one of the dark units we got from the Buffalo Bell event last year. And I say last year, in the spring. It was nowhere near as effective. So Philvis is definitely making a massive, massive, massive difference here. So, turn 7. We will need to rebuff Dawn Wind, and we will definitely do that, because if we don't, we're going to run into some problems. So let's go. Bell still has the dark, and he still has all the debuffs in play. The debuffs haven't gone anywhere. He has the ability to remove them. He hasn't done it yet. I think he might do it on this turn, but let's find out. I want to say with a fair amount of certainty this is the turn where they're gone, but I honestly don't know. I really don't know. Let's double check here. Yeah, dark attribute damage is still there. Is her magic still there? I don't see her magic attack. Oh, it is still there. It's literally right above her dark damage. I don't know how I missed that. So he's not removed buffs or debuffs. We'll go read his skill. I thought when I first read it that he could remove buffs, but in some of the practice runs he removed debuffs. So we'll go reread his skill at the end of this and kind of assess that, because that is a weird one. But yeah, it is what it is. We're just going to rebuff our extra skills, extra action skills, and then we're going to go back into this. Remember, the goal here is that final triple SA. The triple SA should be the big defining difference in this run versus others. We should be able to finish this, hopefully, fingers crossed, with that big triple SA. So, remember, turn 9 is our goal. And turn 9 is when this triple SA is going to happen. So if we kill it, this is the moment we're going to kill it. And it looks probable. So let me explain. Harahime is going to give us 120% strength and magic. It's really 120% magic because we're all magic units. Then we're going to get 100% dark attack damage for all allies here. Now remember, that 60% buff there is only so effectual. Because, if we go down here, all unit resistance is up 20%. So it's not really going to be an effective attack. What's going to be far more effective is giving that debuff to Elfie, who's going to come in, and who's going to do... who's going to do magic and dark resist down 60%. So, the AoE resistance kind of nullifies anything that would be really nice about that. But then that's going to give Elfie 100% dark damage and 120% magic. And then she's going to do this big debuff. Finally, we're going to hit the final essay with all those buffs, all those debuffs applied, plus 90% for each self-magic buff skill for a total 180% attack. Let's see what happens here. Now, Harahime is just a buff. That's it. Nothing crazy, nothing special. Ryu, like I said, she's going to be resisted pretty heavily. Elfie, on the other hand, 1.4 million. And then the coup de grace is a 3.8 mil. 3.8 million with Filvis, who isn't even necessarily max. She is on the level of a good, +3 with 3-star hero ascension. So if you ever wanted to question whether Filvis was worth on this team, she actually is. And I'm willing to bet the next Record Busters where she's really, really, really going to shine. So if you didn't pull her, it was a thing. Now, that got our S clear. So, I want to emphasize once again, Filvis is max limit broken. But if you look at her stats, she's only about on the level of Elfie with a little bit more magic attack, but, it is what it is. As far as, survivability, as far as most of what she's capable of, she's about on the level of Elfie. HP is about there, agility is about there, defense is about there. The only thing that's a little bit higher is her magic attack. So, if you have Filvis at +2 or +3, you'll be killing this. You'll be crushing this. I would be shocked if a +2 with 3-star hero ascension doesn't absolutely dominate if you do this tactic. So there you go, guys. That is that. I'm going to go ahead and save my skill flow. And I'm going to auto run this a few more times and build this up. Now remember, you can always go in here too, and you can use your skip tickets. I prefer not to personally because we can auto run this and it's really, really, really simple. So you will need to go in here and you will need to, if this is your first hero trial, understand you can only get one of these amber lights. So you can only pick either Belle or Seer. I will tell you this Seer is dated. The Faithful Formal Seer. So Belle actually in that regard might be a better choice. But let's go to the album here and find out real quick, okay? Now, first things first, we're going to go down here to grab Seer, okay? Faithful Formal Seer. So at max limit break, which is, I always like to look at their stats max limit break, she has light resist plus 20%, strength and magic plus 15. Actually, she's really good. She's definitely the better of the two. If you're building a light damage or a light team ever, she's going to be quite stellar. Now, what are her actual numbers? Let's see here. Physical and magic are both about neutral. Her HP isn't really much to write home about. Her dex is pretty good, but if you're ever building a light team, she'll be definitely worth. So I would actually pick her over Belle. Now, to be fair, if we go over here to Belle, where is that Belle? It is... Where you at? Where you at? I'm trying to figure out where that Belle is. Is that him right there? Nope, that's the wrong one. It is a light Belle. Let's filter this down. Boom. There we go. Right there. So at full ascend and full max limit break, this Bell stats are pretty respectable. Strength is just below 2,000. HP is 3640, which ain't great, but it definitely isn't bad. Now, what does he do? Skill 1 is a mid-light physical attack with high penetration rate, ally strength, and light attack damage plus 35%. You know, pretty straightforward stuff. Those are those buffs we were seeing. Skill 2 is a foes plural fast highlight physical attack with ultra encounter rate. Removes strength, agility, and dark attack damage buffs. That's what I thought. I thought he had the ability to remove our buffs, and he just never did. So that's a thing, I suppose. But neither here nor there. There you go. I would say Seer is definitely a good primary choice. Bell would be a good backup plan, but either way you go, it is going to be that, and it is only going to be a bond. I want to emphasize that too. If we go back here to the Heroic Trial, oops, go to the exchange. It is only a bond, so you have to have the unit for the bond to be of any use. So, if you have Bell, great. If you don't, probably go with Seer in the hopes that you eventually pull her. That is my 2 cents on that. I'm still shocked that Bell didn't remove our buffs at any point, but it is what it is. Go get 600 of these, get your free bond. Like, comment, share. I'll catch you guys on the next one.